All right. Good morning. Good morning. This is Richie Contartesi coming to you live from beautiful and sunny Las Vegas, Nevada with another episode of SalesPreneur. And today is a very exciting one. It's a good episode, and I spent quite a bit of time now that I had some time. I was sitting on an airplane, and I was kind of going through some things that have happened to me in the past, some things that have really bothered me, and some things that I struggled with early on, and came up with kind of a formula and a solution to these things. So what I'll do is throughout this process, just like we always do, if you have any comments, any questions, make sure to put them in throughout or right when you have them. And then at the end, I will get to them. All right, let's see. Just to get rolling here. What's up, Eve Jeanette? What's up, Emily? Excited for this morning. So the good thing is now that I'm doing these one a week, it gives me a lot of time to really put this together. So what I'm going to put in the description is everything that I've talked about here, like broken down so that you can take what I'm talking about and implement it and use it, right? So that's like kind of the point, obviously. But I want to make this as much, I want to provide you as much value as humanly possible and not just the base video. So something that also came out at one of my events this past week was this topic, and when I really broke it down and looked back, I was like, man, this is really important. So there's a few things that I'm going to cover. One is, why would someone disappear? Why would a prospect disappear? How to avoid a prospect from disappearing, and if that happens to you, if someone disappears, how to revive that prospect who did disappear. So one thing I just want to make very, very clear, really, really clear, is that when it comes to sales, and I know a lot of people who are here this morning and a lot of people that are on here, when it comes to sales, whether it's B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. It is all about people. Yes, there's products, there's service, there's ideas, there's whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's always about people. It's about the people you interact with. It's about the client, and it's about you. And people are just naturally unpredictable. That's just the way it is. They're unpredictable. And here's the other key thing. People do not like confrontation. They don't like it. So keep that in mind as we go through this. And in your business, in the things that you sell, or if you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. Keep in mind that the fact that people are unpredictable, they don't like confrontation. So keep that in mind. Why would someone disappear? So there's a couple main reasons. And I just want to say, before I go through these reasons, everything that I'm going to share today, it has to do with you. Everything that is I'm going through these with the understanding that everything you do is ethical and it's done with integrity. So there's nothing that you did throughout this process that was unprofessional. So all these key points and everything I'm going to share just has that kind of preface, is that you did everything ethical, you did everything with integrity, and so there's nothing that you did was unprofessional. Man, I'm mumbling my words this morning. Okay, the other thing is that you actually spoke with them. So sometimes this happens, you'll get leads and you never actually even connect with them. They're cold leads, but you never spoke with them. They never texted you back. They never emailed you back. So they're 100% cold and you never spoke with them. Throw those out. And one thing to keep in mind, just in general with people, is there's a few things that may happen that has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. So if they get sick, there's a death in the family, they were fired, they quit, or something similar in your industry, like something happened to this person and they're just completely off the board. Obviously, nothing that I'm going to share with you has to do with that. So if those things happen, which they do, everything we're going to talk about today has nothing to do with those, although everything, if those still happen, these are still really, really important things to know. So why would someone disappear? The first reason is because of pressure. The pressure that we put on them. Understand that we live in a day and age where the used car salesman, the pressure approach, is not acceptable anymore. Millennials are getting older, And it's just something that you used to be able to do when there was a lack of information. But since we live in the information age, this just doesn't work anymore. So if you provided too much pressure, okay. If they do not have a strong enough pain, they don't have a strong enough pain. And what I mean by this is this. A lot of people think that they sell to people who need what they have. Oh, I have this product, or you can join my team, or I have this service. And they think that they need it. But they don't actually want it. So there's a big difference when you're selling to someone. Do they want it versus do they need it? And people may disappear even though they need it, but they'll disappear because they don't want it. And we'll talk about how to get people to want it, but just keep that in mind. That's a really big point. All right. Another one is you do not have a strong enough relationship. You just don't have a strong enough relationship with them, and they go with a competitor, and they just straight up do not have the balls to tell you. Like, because you don't have a good enough relationship with them, they disappear because they do not have the balls to tell you. Like, I don't know how else to say that. Or they legitimately just don't have the budget. They don't have the money. They can't afford it. And they need to do something else in the meantime to generate some capital. I always tell people when people are like, oh, I can't afford. I'm like, well, then why don't you get a second job? If this is something you truly want, right? Like they pass that want thing. Go bartend at night. I don't know. Figure something out. But that's just an excuse. But anyways, if it's a bigger B2B company and they don't have the budget and they legitimately can't do it, they can't do it. The other one is when it comes to strong enough relationship and they won't have the balls to tell you is if they just couldn't get it approved. Like they're not high enough up on the totem pole and their boss said no, and they just do not have the bite to be able to get it approved. So that happens. All right. One mistake that a lot of people make is they're not understanding of where the person is in the buying process. And a lot of times we catch people when it's too early. They may want it, but they're not quite ready for it. And so what happens in this situation is we get so excited because we know that they're like, they want it, they're in, but it's not quite the right time. And there's definitely some times where that's an excuse, but there are some times when that's legitimate. Like that's a legitimate reason why they can't do it. So being understanding of where people are in their process and understanding that it legitimately may be too early. Okay, so this one is my absolute favorite, and I think it's one that a lot of people make a big mistake of, especially today in the internet age, in the age where there's social media, is the lack of the lack of proof. I can't even say words. Proof. What is a proof? Lack of proof or obscurity. And obscurity is a really big thing. How many times have you been very interested in a product and a service and something that you found online, for example, and there was no proof? This happened to me yesterday. I'm looking for a service to put up SCAGs, is what it's called, for AdWords. And I found a company and their product looked great. And I started Googling them and I found nothing. No reviews, no social media. That's obscure. Like I didn't know who they were. I didn't trust it. So I went with the other software company because I felt it was better, but I was like, what if I just pay and the software doesn't even exist? So obscurity is something that is something today is extremely easy to get out of. And I don't care if you work for another company or you have your own company. Getting out of obscurity through a personal brand, if you work for another company, or if it's your company and you have access to the website and can do whatever you can to get yourself out of obscurity. And the way to do that is through social proof and reviews, right? So like reviews of real people. And if you go to my speaking website, I don't have very many written reviews, very little. I have all video reviews. Why? Because it's real. Because it shows emotion. It shows what people actually felt at the event. And so in your website and your reviews, I suggest highly moving to video reviews. And if you work for a big company, have a personal review. Like, it's okay to do that, like to have a personal brand. Like, if you're work for a big company and you go in to another big company with a pitch and they Google you and find your website and see all your social media and all your posts and all your content, like, people will be like, damn, this dude's for real. Like, he's legitimate. He's not, whereas a lot of people, they don't have anything. They have nothing. And so to them, they're just like, there's always a sense of doubt. And if you can remove that doubt, you're going to do really well. So reviews, when it comes to reviews, I highly suggest having video reviews, calling your past clients, or I know for some of these people on this call, Madeline, Miranda, Michelle, calling some of the people on your team and saying, hey, like, make legitimate reviews. Can you make me a video review on your iPhone? I don't care. Holding it up, and just be real. Tell them about your experience. What has it been like? And that's what you send to other people. So when you have a potential new client, you say, hey, you want to check out this page? Like, these are what other people say. Because if you say it, it's like whatever. But if other people say it, then it's like legitimate. It's gold. So they don't want to continue working with someone they don't know. So I don't care if you work for a big company, if you're in sales, if you're an entrepreneur, you have your business page, build a personal brand. Be okay with posting on your personal social media or a business social media. And when you don't want them to see something personal, just send it to your friends or family or personalize it in your posts. Like, it's not hard to go public versus friends versus create groups or whatever. But show people that you're real. Okay, so the next one. Here's a good one. Ready? How to avoid a prospect from disappearing. So here's the final question. So we talked about why would somebody disappear? So how do we avoid a prospect from actually disappearing? And the first one is you have to be genuinely interested. And that goes back to, you got to love your product. You got to love what you do. You got to believe in your service. And when you go and meet with somebody, like if you're an entrepreneur or if you're in sales and you don't, that's a tough gig if you don't like people. Like, if you don't truly, genuinely want to help or be interested in people, then you need to be a CEO. A lot of people are don't understand what an actual CEO does, but a CEO does nothing at the lower level. They literally just are like the puppet master, and they like make decisions and pull strings. But if you're interacting with clients, if they can't feel that you're genuinely interested, forget about it. And here's how you become, or here's how you can be more genuinely interested. Focus more on their pain and their wants over your solution and what you want. So a lot of times we go into interactions with people, and it's easy for us to talk about all of our features and our benefits and our solution. I know you need this. I have what you want. I can get you out of debt. I can make you more money. I can save you money. Whatever it is. Like, I can get you more time in your life. I can make you a rich entrepreneur. Like, whatever it is, you're focusing on your solution so you can get what you want. Wrong. You have to be genuinely interested in them. Focus on their pain. Let them talk about their pain. That's why I love Spin, S-P-I-N, Spin Selling. Google it. It's a great way to systematically talk about someone else's pain and to dive into it. That's what people want. And then they'll associate happiness with you because you care about them, and it releases endorphins. That's just how it works. All right, so the second thing is you got to use their language. I truly believe corporate talk is long gone. I've spoken at enough corporate events and with enough CEOs and founders and VPs, and corporate talk is long gone. What is the reality of today, especially with everything that's going on political and all this other stuff, is to be natural, be real, and be direct. Like, be yourself, be natural, be real, and be direct. Like, you can't go wrong with being, like, have you ever talked to somebody that was trying to solicit or sell you something, and you can just tell they were not who they are? Like, they were just so unnatural. They were so scripted. They were so just like completely like this perfect person. You're like, you're not perfect, dude. Like, you're not. And you're trying way too hard. Like, or you have a conversation with someone and you're like, whoa, I'm like talking to one of my friends. It doesn't matter if I'm speaking with the VP who's 47 or the founder who's 55. I am 100% myself. Like, I even sometimes will be like, hey man, how you doing? Like, and that's, and for some reason, or for this reason, they look at me differently and they talk back to me the way they would talk to their friend. So the way you use your language is going to help you build more relationships and be more real. Okay. Another way to avoid it is to build business and not personal relationships. So I know a lot like with millennials today, and like they're starting to get into more higher position roles. The whole era of personal relationships, and I think they're important. Here's what I'll say with this. Build business relationships first, personal relationships second. I'm not saying you shouldn't build personal relationships, because I definitely think you should. But if you try to build a personal relationship first without one sale, without ever doing anything with them, they're going to see right through that. They're going to see that you're bullshitting. You're not really building a relationship with them. You're just trying to talk about their kids and all this other stuff because you want their business. And today, because of the internet, because people can get information, people want to get down to the point. They want, here's my problem, can you solve it? And that's just the way that it goes. So this might go against a lot of things people tell you in regards to business versus personal relationships. But I'm telling you right now, if you build business relationships first and let the personal relationships develop, they will trust you so much more. It's not even funny. I've had sales, very small sales, that turned into very big long-term sales because I legitimately was genuinely interested in their business, and we built a personal relationship after that, and the rest is history. The other thing to think about is if you're not a sales rep, I think that's just such like even if you're an entrepreneur, like you're a coach. And I know that's like a big thing that's out there. Everyone wants to be a life coach and But like, if you position yourself because of the information, if you position yourself as a coach and building business relationships, what is a business relationship? A business relationship is when you provide them content that answers questions that help them. Content that answers questions that help them. This video, this podcast, this whatever episode is an example. This is an example. Okay? So think about things that you can provide, content that you provide, whether that's blog posts, whether that's your own podcast, whether that's your own lives. I know, for example, and I've been following Miranda and Megan and some of you and Emily, and I know the industry that some of you are in. I would highly suggest creating videos, creating a YouTube channel, creating a podcast that's focused on things like having more freedom in your life, having more time in your life, what does that look like? And always providing content. That's another way people will find you too. So not only does it help potential prospects, keep people from disappearing, but also is a way to help people find you. So hope that was a good example that would help you guys out a little bit. Okay. The fourth one, I got two more here. The fourth one is to avoid pressure. I've said this. We talked about pressure. We live in the information age, so avoid pressuring people. It just does not work. The only time pressuring people does work is if you have a limited time offer and you legitimately stick to that. If you've in your marketing. So if you already speak to somebody and then you're like, oh, well, the price is $10.99 and it's only $10.99 for 10 more hours, that's a different kind of pressure. And a lot of times that just pisses people off. It legitimately does. So if you're going to use pressure, use it in your marketing, in your ads, in your whatever. on your posts, and then people reach out to you after they already have the pressure. But don't have people reach out to you and then create pressure unless you have to. This sometimes happens in my industry where I don't have anything in my advertising about pressure, but if someone reaches out and says, hey, I need a presenter at my event in 3 weeks, then obviously there's going to be some sort of pressure because I'm not booking travel, that like one day before the event. I've done it before, but obviously there's some things that have to go into that. But, and I don't want to get into that. But anyways, when it comes to pressure, avoid it unless it's in your marketing material. They're already pre-exposed to that pressure before they speak to you. And then the last thing is leave every interaction with another planned interaction. So if you had a scheduled Zoom call, if you had a scheduled meeting, if you had a scheduled call on the phone, whatever you had scheduled, before the end of that meeting, before the end of that interaction, schedule another one. Now, that doesn't mean that they still might ghost. If you do all of these things, I doubt that will happen. People will be real with you. Your percentage is very low. Again, we talked about people being unpredictable and people not liking confrontation. So it still may happen, but your percentages are going to be so much smaller if you do it this way. So leave every interaction with another planned call, another scheduled meeting, another scheduled Zoom call. So that you're always kind of planned for the next thing. All right. And my last thing, and this is just really quick here, is if you do these two things, you'll not never, I take that back. You may still happen, but it's going to be a very low percentage. But how to revive a prospect if you're in a situation who's disappeared right now, where it's already happened, somebody's disappeared and you want to get them back. Two quick things. One, be original, be funny, and be direct, either in an email, a phone call, whatever, a video email, a video you make for them on YouTube that you send to them. Be creative, be funny, be original, and be direct. And literally just say, what we do, and we do this sometimes, is we'll just be so upfront and real with them that it's just they can't help but to laugh, and more than likely they'll reply and they'll say, hey, I just didn't get the budget, or hey, I don't have the money, I can't do it, or hey, you know what, it's just this isn't the right fit for me. That's what we want to know. We want to know yes or no. So this is something that's worked out really well, and I can't, if you have one, if this has happened to you and you want to post or you have a question about it, post it and I'll share with you some ideas. I heard a really good one this past week. I was at an event speaking, and they said they had a training, and one of the new things that they were implementing is when they made a cold call, they would legitimately say, hi, this is a cold call. Can I have 30 seconds of your time? And either they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. And you know what? The honesty of that, and not trying to be like, hey, this is Richie Contardesi from Richie Contardesi International. How are you today? And they're just like, oh my God, because they know it's a cold call. Where they're just like, hey, this is Richie. This is a cold call. Can I have 30 seconds of your time? And they were finding that people are much more receptive, and it's funny. And so think in terms of just being funny and then use different mediums. So if you're talking to them on Facebook chat, talk to them on Instagram. If you're talking to them an email, shoot them on LinkedIn. If you're talking to them on LinkedIn, give them a call. Find different mediums and ways to connect with them. Be funny. Just be funny. Be creative. Creative's being funny, right? The second thing and the last thing here is send them something valuable based on their wants. So if you already know what they want and you've had a conversation with them, which should have happened for them to disappear, then find something that they said to you that they wanted and answer that question in an email, and a blog post, and a phone call, just something to answer that. Be like, hey, you know what? You said this the last time we talked. I found this article that was really cool, or I made this video that answers that question for you. And they're gonna see that, and they're either gonna respond. And sometimes this has happened, and they respond, and you're like, damn it! Why didn't they at least say like, hey, we decided not to go forward with you, or we're not going to buy your product. And they respond to the video like, oh, this is great insight. And you're like, why did you disappear for 3 weeks and not tell me if we're going to move forward, and then respond to that with something so basic? But anyways, at least you got them to respond, and then you can ask and be like, hey, it's been, I'm glad that was of value. It's been 3 weeks. Are we going to do this thing or not? I don't know. Something funny, something creative. And then with all of this, as we wrap up here, is whenever this happens, reverse engineer the whole interaction and learn from your mistakes. That's really all you can do at the end of the day, is as you implement all of these things, and I'm going to put them in the post here on Facebook, and they'll be on YouTube and LinkedIn. Learn from your mistakes. That's the only way you're ever going to get better. That's the only way you're ever going to become the best version of yourself. And that's the only way that you can continue to grow. So that is all that I have. Let me just see if we have any questions. What's up? All right. So Eve, Jeanette, Emily, Madeline, good morning. Miranda, morning. I saw Megan become the number one. That was awesome. I know you were with her. So Michelle Stevens, good morning. How are you? I'm doing excellent. Big hugs from Florida. Man, sometimes I love Florida, but sometimes, I don't know. I did my 18 years there. That humidity is rough, but okay. So what's up, Megan? And great insight. Okay, perfect. All right, cool. So I don't see any questions. That's all that I have. Again, I'm going to be doing these every Monday morning, as much as I can. I might try to sneak one in every now and then, but as I'm continuing to be on the road, it's very difficult to do these every day. But on a Monday morning, 99% of the time, unless I have an event on Monday morning, I can do it from my hotel or whatever. It would just be impossible to do it every single day while on the road. So hope this helped. Hope this was of value to you. And if you have any questions, post this video, or you're watching this on a replay, comment your questions, and I will get back to you. All right. Have a great week.